is Black Maternal Health Week 2026, and this year's theme is rooted in justice and joy. And it's not an accident, it's a declaration. Because for too long, the conversation about Black maternal health has started and ended with pain, statistics, crisis, and grief. And while the grief is real, the crisis is urgent, and the data demands action. That's not the entire story. The entire story includes the women, the organizers, the doulas, the legislators, the fathers, and the communities who have been building something in the middle of it all, quietly and loudly, locally and nationally, rooted. So that's why I'm excited for this conversation. Senator Ashlei Spivey is the founder and executive director of IB Black Girl, a reproductive justice organization based in Omaha, Nebraska, that's doing something radical. She's centering on Black women's joy, resistance, and healing as acts of political power. She's building an ecosystem of doulas who earn a living wage, and she's moving philanthropic resources into the hands of Black women founders. And just because she had the time, she's also recently won a seat in the Nebraska Legislature District 13. Running a transformational nonprofit just quite wasn't enough to keep her busy, and we are all in the benefit of that. So, Senator Spivey, it's so good to have you in this conversation and in this fight and as a partner. And I'm so thankful that you're able to have this talk with me today.
Thank you for having me. I'm really honored and super excited.
So I will jump into this because I know you've got a busy schedule. And I want to talk about this year's theme for Black Maternal Health Week. I want to talk about the joy. And so, can you tell us a little bit about IB Black Girl for those that don't know you, and what the mission is, and why centering Black women and birthing people's joy and resistance matter just as much as centering their pain?
Absolutely. So IBBG is the first and only reproductive justice organization in Nebraska, and we are led by Black women and people. And we started very organically, almost 10 years ago now in 2017. And as we were building this organization, folks were like, oh, y'all are Black led. We're going to give you all the things. We're going to give you all the things that you did not create, that really other people in systems should own to address, but we're going to give you all of these things. And we worked with an organization called Ubuntu Research and Evaluation out of Milwaukee. And Dr. Monique Liston is their CEO and president. And she and her team came to help us do our strategy. And I'm like, okay, I got these ideas and we're building. And she and her team, this quote from The Salt Eaters by Tony Cade Bambara that says, "Do you want to be well, sweetheart? Because being well is no trifling matter." And that has been our guidepost. And I think that quote, which is our guidepost and where we sit, really is a reminder to us and a call to action that we don't have to respond to the trauma of these systems that are intentionally causing harm that we didn't create, right? Like we can chart our own course in a way that allows us to be well, to be whole, and to be abundant. And so our ethos really as an organization aligns to this year's theme around how do we center joy and happiness, as you said in your opening, which was so beautiful, right? Like we know that the pain exists, the crisis exists, and there are still bright spots in our birth journeys. How do we celebrate those? How do we leverage and talk about all of the organizations that are creating positive birth outcomes and ensuring that we have access to comprehensive reproductive care? Like we can do all these things while naming and navigating the harm of a system that we didn't create. And so I'm really excited to lead an organization like IBBG, especially in this point in time in our landscape, where the reason why we were founded was to center our joy, our abundance, and our vision of what we want for our community.
I love that. I love that because centering the joy often gets caught in the chaos of dealing with the other things that come with it. And I will do a quick shout out because Dr. Monique Liston is also a classmate of mine from Howard University. So
Yes.
that is very,
And
very
we
cool.
and we fight all the time about Jackson State and Howard, but that is my Leo boo, and I love her. And she is brilliant. She
She
is
is
so
brilliant.
she is so brilliant, and she has challenged me in ways that I am so grateful for. And so I'm glad that we have a shared sister in the work. So
This community is unlike any other, and so it's just it's wonderful to be able to be in this space. And speaking of that, so from your vantage point, leading this work and now as an incoming state legislator, what are you seeing on the ground right now that you want policymakers and advocates alike to pay attention to?
yeah, I feel really fortunate to be a state senator because my work through IBBG and like our comprehensive approach to reproductive justice, I think really prepared me to think about policy as a lever for change and where are the silos and how people are approaching this work. And so one of the things that I think is really important is that we piecemeal legislation and we pick up bits and pieces depending on our political affiliation or our background or whatever that really don't allow for us to see system transformation. And so, for example, here in Nebraska, we have a tax on reproductive rights. And reproductive well-being overall, like that access to care, which includes abortion care, contraceptives, right? And so when some of my colleagues want to talk about maternal and child health, for people that choose to be pregnant and parent, they're all in on that. They are all in and want to talk to me about it. And when I challenge them around the full spectrum of care, they can't see how those types of opportunities for access are just as important to what they believe are like the key issues for maternal and child health. And so I've had to do a lot of educating around what does reproductive coercion means as we are passing policy for survivors and folks navigating intimate partner violence, and that you cannot root it in abortion statute and limit access to abortion care, because we know the data shows that when you have access to abortion care, folks that are navigating intimate partner violence and reproductive coercion are able to leave that situation. They are getting the care that they need. And so a lot of what I've been trying to do is lay that groundwork for education, and then really I play a lot of defense here, but then I'm looking at what policies can I bring that really allow for us to chart a course that we know this state needs, as well as could be a blueprint for other states like mine that are having some of these conversations that have a lot of tension.
That's really good. I think, the defense part is something that most people work. I feel like these days we're in a state of reactionary defense and given whatever policies or new things are coming being thrown at us. But it's that ability to see the end game, and that's the
Mhm.
ability to think of the offense that really has value, especially
Absolutely.
when you're in a position to really push the change. And so when you're thinking about the relationship between community organizing, and that's a soft spot for me in the work that I do,
Mm.
and policy change when it comes to Black maternal health, where does IBBG sit in that ecosystem?
Yeah, I mean, it's integral. I really believe that, strong community doesn't need strong leaders, like Ella Baker, right? Hands down. And so when we talk about that, I don't want our organization doing the same things that we were doing 5 years ago, 10 years ago. We should be base building in a way that allows for people to engage in this work. They don't have to be professionally paid or academically trained, but they have the tools and resources to say, here's how I want to lead around this issue. So when we talk about Black maternal and child health and really creating positive birth outcomes, I want moms, partners, doulas, community birth workers, right? People to say, here's my leadership in that. And now we have helped provide the tools and resources for them to engage in a way that makes sense and leverages what they hope to see for their community and their families and themselves. And so that is a really important part of our goal. We have a whole strategy that is really looking at maternal health access through midwifery care,
Yeah.
freestanding birth centers, and doulas. We are looking at piloting a perinatal and postpartum care bus to go to areas where we're seeing these care deserts. We are building a data system that allows for community to use data to make informed decisions versus providers. And then, of course, we are on the policy side. How can we really ensure that policy is not continue to be weaponized in our community, but really is a lever for change that we chart? And so I'm so proud of the work that my team does. I need to shout them out. I feel like I had a vision of this as a founder, and they have just come in. I mean, again, brilliant minds that continue to elevate the work while centering the people that are most impacted. And that's, to me, what really makes a difference. And I'm excited to see how we continue to activate our community in a way that makes sense for them and lend itself to our mission.
Well, and thank you for that. And I will second that. I want to take a second to shout out the IBBG team because you all do fantastic work and fantastic partners to us here at Families USA and all of our partners. And with that said, I would love to know what would you like for those watching this vlog, those who are partnering with us, or those who just happen upon this, who are allies in the work and in the celebration of Black mamas and birthing people and those that support. What does allyship look like from organizations like that? And particularly, what does that look like for you, and how does that translate to joy?
Absolutely. I think for folks that maybe don't have the shared identity as being Black or a birthing person, I'm making sure that you make space for the folks that do have that shared identity and leadership, and then you look to their direction, come alongside them around what is it that we are saying that we need. If we need you to go check your people over there, like you can go do that, right? Like you have to look at the direction of the folks that are most impacted because we
Yeah.
are the ones that should be leading and are experts in our own lives. I think for organizations that care about this work and are a part of the ecosystem, we really have to think about how do we change the silos that we see. Like policy is absolutely connected to the philanthropy or how we resource this work, to the folks on the ground, to the folks that are doing direct service or upstream work. Like we're all have a piece of this. And so really being willing to sit in community and conversation around that strategy so we can leverage our resources to have outsized impact, especially in this landscape when we know that there is a scarcity mindset and attacks on population-specific work. I think that is a really integral. And for folks that want to engage with IBBG, while we are focused on Nebraska, we think of ourselves as a national thought leader where we want to help and provide blueprints and what we've learned and have shared space. And so we want folks to subscribe to our newsletter, to talk about us in rooms that we are not in and lift up our mission, and then see where you fit in, whether that's donating, volunteering, having us come on panels where we can talk about our work, right? Like, I think all of that really adds to the mission. And what, again, we hope is our ethos and the common theme, not just now for this week of Black Maternal Health Week, but moving forward, is that we have to center our joy and abundance in this and what we vision for our futures. And it is not going to be a reaction to the inequities that we see at the system level.
I love that. Centering your joy in abundance. That is a statement. That is t-shirt worthy. And I will say no more because now you're going to get tired of me because as the conference, Health Action Conference lead and MC, you will now get all of the requests to come and be on panels.
Listen, and we are there. We are there.
Well, thank you so much. This has been such a good conversation, and hopefully one that just sparks and engages more to come
And not our
throughout the work.
last. It can't be our last
It won't
conversation.
be. It can't be because if we got abundance of joy, we still have the abundance of work that needs to be done.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you. Senator Ashlei, I just want to say thank you. Truly, you're building a community of subject matter experts in their own advocacy with IBBG and all of the work that you do, because that's just the tip of the iceberg. But it's exactly this is what joy looks like when it's strategic and it's not just a feeling. And so we're honored to stand behind you all in this work. And to everyone watching, we just want to say, go and subscribe, go and follow, go and make sure that you see all of the work and that you are part of the work and that you're pulling along those in your community as well. And so we are here, we're rooted in justice and joy. And so thank you so much.